I want to share the story with you of a young black boy who was killed, how his death shaped prison and incarceration policy throughout America. His name was Robert Sandifer. He went by Yummy. He was born in 1983 in Chicago, Illinois. His circumstances were not ideal. His mother was a sex worker. She had 30 prior arrests for prostitution and also drug-related offenses. Father was absent throughout most of his life due to incarceration as well. And from the time he was an infant, he was physically abused. Before he was 3 years old, he was already known to the Illinois Department of Family and Children's Services. His caseworkers noted that he had cigarette burns all throughout his body, his face, his neck, and his back, as well as bruises all over his body. In 1987, all of the children were removed from the custody of their mother, and they were placed in the custody of their grandmother. But she was older, and she didn't really have the capability to take care of these children because she had as many as 19 other children in her home at one time. The situation that he was put in with the grandmother was no better than the situation that he had come from. By the age of 8, he stopped attending school completely. He was groomed by the Black Disciples, a Chicago street gang. He began stealing cars and breaking into houses. And in 1993, he was removed from his grandmother's house. Him and his siblings were sent to a homeless shelter where Sandifer ran away and was never heard from again. On August 28, 1994, he was asked to do a favor. They handed him a 9mm semi-automatic pistol and told him where to go and where to open fire. He ended up killing a 14-year-old girl by the name of Siobhan Dean. After the killing, police identified him. He was hanging with the people that groomed him. On August 31st, 1994, he asked to make a phone call to call his grandmother so that she could pray with him because he was going to turn himself in for what he did. Around the same time, two brothers, Craig and Derek Hardaway, saw Robert and told him to get into a car with them because they were going to take him somewhere safe so he could hide out from the charges. Instead, they took him to an underpass in Chicago where they told him to get on his knees and ended his life with 2 bullets in the back of the head. His body was found the next morning by Chicago police. It's believed that the Black Disciples, the street gang, thought that Robert was going to snitch and hired 2 other children to end his life. Brothers were tried and charged as adults. One brother got 45 years in prison, one brother got 60 years in prison, and both brothers are free today. Robert Sandifer, as well as the Hardaway brothers, were used to show the concept of super predators. The mugshot of Robert Sandifer, the child that was murdered, ended up on the cover of Time magazine. Over 400 people showed up to his funeral, including various news organizations that were trying to capitalize and make documentary movies off of his death. The only time anyone cared about Robert was when he was in a casket. And when he was living, society showed him his life didn't matter at all.
The kinds of kids that are called super predators, no conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heel. And the president has asked the FBI to launch a very concerted effort against gangs everywhere.